going to Vegas to do this movie. When I order room service, I want crab legs.
No problem. No problem at all.
Burgers, no buns.
No problem.
Okay.
Put cheese, anything you want.
No fries.
No, I'm sorry. You can eat.
No, I don't give a shit. I'm asking you for real.
Yeah. Just because white potatoes will put not as much. White potatoes is not so bad, but maybe just not in the beginning. Brown rice is okay.
People listening though, Bryan Callen right now sounds like he has a doctorate in fitness, and he is incredibly fit. He can fight. You don't want to tangle with him. He's a quadruple threat. He can sing. He can dance. He can fight. He can be fit. But here's the thing: the guy that's telling you about insulin resistance diets in Italy and 100 years of genetics go down the toilet is the same guy that walked into my garage. I said, "How you been?" And he turned around and did a spinning sidekick into my incline weight bench and goes, "See what I do? I do the sidekick right there. I come in, I fucking sidekick right there. You catch him in the midsection
because I'm a jackass."
You just walk.
You should listen to nothing I have to say except for on the subject of nutrition because I've read all the scientists.
The comedy mix.
And well, I don't know if you know this, but in Vancouver, January 26, 27, 28, I'll be at the Comedy Mix in Vancouver. I don't know if you know that. Stand-up. I'm doing stand-up. America.
If
you have 40 million or 44 million listeners.
44 million. Think Reggie Jackson.
Congratulations.
44. Mr. October.
Biggest forums in baseball.
What's the best nickname ever in sports? We talked about that. I want to let's revisit a couple master debater topics
good question.
Without those fucking wet blankets on either side of us.
Boy, oh boy.
How about every guest we had on the show asked me, what's wrong with these guys? Why aren't they laughing or having a good time? They're on television.
Why do they pair you up with those guys? They can't keep up with you.
They were attached when I was asked to come on board,
you're a pro.
And I said, I don't want to be on a panel with like 5 guys, but if it's me and they're like co-hosts,
yeah,
sure.
But you need somebody who speaks your language. People can't, those kind of guys, God bless them, they can't compete with, you're a professional at that.
It was a comic, Naeem Lynn, and on the other side of me was baseball player Eric Burns. And for some reason, these two guys were like in the fucking play it cool phase of their life.
They're good guys. I like those guys, but
there's nothing not to like. Like Naeem's cool and he's fine. And I think he opens for Kevin Hart on the road. Like
whatever the case. But
Eric Burns but these guys for some reason picked the wrong time to be the whatever, man. I don't know. Like no, like what do you fucking
keep the show going?
Yeah, it's a show about debating.
But they don't, that's not a language they are fluent in. That's a language you are fluent in.
Okay, but when you get,
it's like salsa. It's a language I'm fluent in. You're not going to be able to dance. You're not going to keep up with me in salsa. You're not because you don't speak that language.
If we go to the ground, you'll win out eventually.
Well,
you're
I don't know.
Shape.
You might smother me with those shoulders. I start producing estrogen. I all of a sudden I'm clutching at your back. It gets weird.
I punch you in the ribs.
You punch me in the ribs.
Cornfield. Right?
You're like, do you like Oz? Do you like the movie or the TV show?
So what is the best sports nickname of all time? We had, you want me to put some on the table that we had on the show?
Yeah.
Mr. October.
That's
Mr. Clutch.
I like that. Mr. Jeter.
Oh, you said Smoking Joe Frazier was your answer.
I like Smoking Joe Frazier.
And then Naeem Lynn said, man, they didn't even call him Smoking Joe. He wasn't even that fast. And you leaned over like you were going to attack Naeem Lynn. And you went, excuse me?
Yeah.
Did you just say Smoking Joe Frazier wasn't that fast?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, Joe. And he like went into like, I don't really know Joe Frazier stuff.
Yeah.
Like explanation. Not realizing he's sitting next
one
to
of the greatest boxers of all time.
And he's also talking to a great comic who knows everything about fighting. And you're like, Joe went so fast. Fucking
well, what bothers me is you don't ever talk to me about Joe Frazier and go like this. Don't ever use that. I don't want that sound effect with Joe Frazier. And that never talk about a fighter of that caliber that way. You fucking carry him around and feed him grapes. Okay.
Don't talk about a fighter half that caliber.
Correct.
Because the great quote, boxers are ordinary men with extraordinary determination.
God damn it.
They're not like you and I.
No.
They're up at 4. When was the last time you got up at 4?
It's not just the training.
When was the last time?
I can't do it.
I have a fucking baby. I turn the monitor off and act like I don't hear him.
That's what I do.
How'd the baby do? He did great.
Yeah.
My wife goes, really? I go, yeah.
4 a.m. when I have to wait till 4 a.m, I get scared because I'm so vulnerable. Well, I'm so tired.
Yes.
I'm scared.
How about when you do a night shoot and you look at your watch and it's 4 and you're like, you get anxiety like, this isn't normal. We should all be home.
It's the worst.
And then
my back starts to hurt. My body breaks down.
You see the sun coming up and you get that anxiety like, oh my God, I'm going to be on the 110 North at 8 a.m. But on my way home, like this doesn't make any sense to me.
The great tragedy of being a man And the worst thing about being a man for me
never get to give birth
is not just that.
Oh, sorry.
It's not just that. There goes my boner again. This is so weird. But is the fact that you miss a meal and then a night's sleep. You're a fucking babbling brook. You're a bitch. You can't do a thing. You're done. That's how vulnerable you are. You miss 12 hours of water. You don't get any water in your system for 12 hours. You miss a night of sleep. You get a cold. You're done. I'll punch you in the face and you're finished. You just, all the tough guy stuff goes out the window.
I think it's a salient point. Cause like if we have a cold, we just become, but our
achy.
wives will be up for 48 hours.
Well, dude, when I'm sick, my girl she hates me. She resents me.
Amanda Knox?
Yeah. Amanda Knox, when I'm sick, she'll be like,
why aren't you in People magazine with her? Like, you just keep that low pro.
I keep such a low profile, dude. You know why? Because I'm an actor. And for me, it's the theater. That's my secret garden. That's where I express myself. I'm always working on a character.
If you could play any part, what part would you want to play?
That's a very good fucking question, man.
I asked Tom Cruise that. You know what he told me?
What?
Dan Gable.
I love him for that. I talked to Tom Cruise about Dan Gable for about an hour.
Are you being serious?
For an hour.
When?
Well, I did a reading with him with Todd Phillips of The Men.
That's right. Yeah. Tell me. This is a great story.
And I told him I went to Dan Gable's intensive wrestling camp when I was in high school. Between the ages of 17 and 18, the hardest experience of my life was going to that camp. You had to graduate from it, and they shut it down the next year. Dan Gable, by the way, for you ladies and gentlemen, was the most winningest wrestler in American history. And by the way, he went to the Olympics and didn't have a point scored on him. That's never been done. The Soviets couldn't score a point.
Not as good as Cael Sanderson.
No, nobody is. That's a whole different subject. But the fact that he didn't have a point scored on him is ridiculous. And Dan Gable is legendary, still is legendary. And I talked to Tom Cruise about going to that camp. Cruise, and then we talked about wrestling.
Why are you with Tom Cruise? What the listeners are going to want to know.
I was doing a reading of a movie that Alan Loeb, a friend of mine, wrote that Todd Phillips was going to direct called The Men. It was a remake of, I think, a German movie. It didn't happen. And then I saw him about 6 months later at a Oscar party with all the who's who, and I started talking to him. Yeah,
he's the best, right?
He's the best. I wanted to be his friend so bad.
You got to listen to the podcast where it was just me. We couldn't get a guest, and me and Cohen just sat here, and it's called The Legend of Tom Cruise, and I explain the exact step by step of my Jerry Maguire audition, and how he tried to kick the shit out of me with words.
He did?
Yeah, like it wasn't like an audition. Like I say this, you say that. He was like, he got fucking fired. And he was like, you ungrateful. And it was one of those moments where you go, I'm either going to brain him back or I don't get, like, obviously this is it. My feet were to the fire and it's fucking hot and I dig it.
That was a phenomenal job. I remember that role. I remember that role very well. I remember when you got one of his clients and you go and you do this.
You do that? Yeah, I did the fist pump. So good. You did the table read with Tom Cruise.
And we talked about Dan Gable. And he told me he knows a lot about Dan Gable. He knows a lot about Dan Gable's personal history. And it was awesome.
It was his life's mission to play Dan Gable.
Well, Dan Gable had his sister murdered. His sister was raped and murdered in his house, in his home. And they found the guy. And it's a bad story. But that's kind of what drove him.
You did a good Cruise impression when you retold the story to me about how he was complimentary to you during the table read.
Well, Jeremy Piven was there, and Jeremy can tell you that I think he told me that at the party, when he remembered who I was, he finally said, "You were great in that reading. You were great." I went, "Thank you." And he goes, "No, you were great in that reading. Your timing was." He'd look away and he goes, "Your time is," and he looks at Katie Holmes and he goes, "Should have seen him. His timing was." And I was like, I didn't know it was that good, but I appreciate that, And I said thank you 13 times, I think. It was the greatest.
Don't you think?
It was the greatest thing in the world.
I've said this to other people. I think I haven't said it in a long time. But when Nicole Kidman was on Saturday Night Live, and he was with her when they were married. And he was just hanging out in like a leather jacket and a Notre Dame cap, baseball cap, And you talk to him, and he shakes your hand. He's one of those guys where if he worked at a quarry in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, he would still be you cannot, dude. It's like keeping the light from coming from the sun. There's something. He is the biggest movie star in the world.
He's so hyper present.
Yes,
I kept looking at his face. He's so hyper present. Like he just looks at you and is like, you're very talented, and he's got those ridiculously blue eyes.
Yeah. It's how politicians look at you when they're running.
Yeah, he's an extraordinary.
They hold your hand, they look you in the eye like, you are my entire world. But with him, it never gets turned off. The painters on the set.
Because he means it. He's an extraordinary human being.
Now how much, and I'm being completely serious.
Yeah.
How much of that is Scientology, do you think?
I don't think any of it.
Really?
No, I don't.
But
I don't credit philosophy for. I think that philosophy works for Tom Cruise, and so as a result of that philosophy, he's very intense and he does the work of that philosophy.
We know so little about Scientology.
I know a little bit. I know a lot of people who are Scientologists.
Isn't there a thing where that hyper presence, isn't that a part of it?
Communication, honest, ethical, clear communication is a very big thing.
And if someone's speaking to you and they're saying negative things, there's just like a weird number system you go through in your head to block them out?
There's this notion that people will try to suppress you, and if you don't call them on that, then it'll bother you. So like you can have a sister or a brother who is not really on your side, who competes with you, and you're trying to get something done, and they stop you by saying something like, wow, you still haven't lost that weight, huh? And it'll ruin you for the next 3 months. And what Scientologists would say is to confront that, take responsibility for yourself and for your surroundings. But my only issue with Scientology confrontation.
Like say, hey, I don't like how you said that about.
Well, honest confrontation, being honest and expressive with your cubic space.
He would say, yeah.
Well, you know what's amazing about him,
Ryan? Your timing. You should have seen it. It's a visual impression.
It's very good.
Another week of visual impressions on the podcast.
It's very good.
Ben Stiller does an incredible cruise.
Oh, he does?
He does great fucking impressions.
That guy's very funny.
Do you remember his first show on MTV?
Yes, I do. Very well.
Not the Fox
Ben
one
Stiller
with Janine.
show.
It was just him and Jeff Kahn.
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
See?
I don't remember that.
The Fox one was Andy Dick, Janine Garofalo. Yeah. It was just, you remember it, of course. Mark Cohen is such a file of all things. It was him and Jeff Kahn pretty much only.
Who's Jeff Kahn?
Exactly. Just a guy that he did stuff with. And you got to just look it up. It's one of those names.
He's another guy, though.
But it's one of those things where I think, like on SNL, the go-to sketch is the talk show because it's the easiest way to get people to interact.
Yeah.
But with Ben Stiller, it seems like on the Ben Stiller, and you'll correct me, Cohen, if I'm wrong or if I'm in the ballpark, it seems like their fallback was taking two movies. Like they were the original mashup. Like they would do Dog Day Afternoon on the Star Trek Enterprise.
God, that's cool.
So it was like him as Pacino as Kirk.
Yeah.
Like, we're Vietnam veterans, we're intergalactic veterans, killing don't mean nothing to us. And he's like, put the phaser down!
What's it called, the Ben Stiller Show?
Yeah, I guess, right?
I gotta see that.
Put the phaser down! This guy wants to phase me so bad, look at him! But then he would like become, and then Jeff Kahn, they did Rain Man on Star Trek? And Jeff Kahn was Spock and Dustin Hoffman, like, yeah.
That was back in the day when they give you a lot of leeway, I think. I don't know.
It's amazing,
but he never stops. That guy never stops. He's always rewriting. He's always
the Oscars
directing.
as an avatar. Like that's the bravest shit in the world.
He's legitimately funny, man. That guy's
and
legit.
He should hire you and I for his movies because you and I are the untapped funny guys.
That's what they tell me, and that's you are tapped.
I've never done a comedy.
That's incredible to me.
I've never like Paul Rudd in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, like as the surfboard renter guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's all I need, and I am fucking up and running for the next 15 years.
I know, man. I know.
It's I mean, I've had incredible parts.
Paul Rudd is damn good too.
But he was a leading man, like the sexy guy.
Yeah.
Clueless.
Paul Rudd.
And then suddenly, he's now like the go-to A-list funny guy.
Well, he's too little to be leading man. He's like a little.
You're too little.
Shut up. You're.
What are you, 6'1"?
I'm 6'4", and I weigh 213 pounds.
I feel like Alan Ladd on Easter Island.
Yeah.
What movie's that from? Anyone?
I feel like Alan Ladd on Easter.
Waiting for Guffman.
Oh, fuck.
He says it to the kid, but the kid says like, he doesn't say anything impressive or large. He goes, how tall are you anyway? And he goes, 5'10". He goes, wow. I feel like Alan Ladd on Easter Island. It's so amazing. The fucking ad-libs in that movie.
That's genius shit, man.
And Fred Willard has... That's one of those movies like where I've learned more.
Fred Willard, he did I did stand-up with him recently. He did the funniest thing where he was playing like his experience in a mental hospital. It was fucking hilarious on a tape recorder.
He's one of the funniest guys alive.
He's fucking amazing.
But Guffman's one of those movies where my ad libs from that moment forward, they say hide your influences, but you really go like, well, what would Fred Willard's like? I learned like Fred Willard at the top of the stairs when they're at like Corky's house, like, come on out, be with us. And then they all go up this huge long flight of stairs to his bizarre apartment, and then they're all like exhausted, and they're like, oh my God. And